Okay, now our next speaker is going to be Mr. Ben Titus. He's a mechanical engineer with LTK Engineering. He's located in the DC Metro office. He's been with them about 10 years.
All right, so yeah, I'm Ben Titus. I've been working in transit for about 10 years, and it's not something I really aspired to. It's something I kind of just fell into after college, and it was only kind of recently that I truly found the value in it. I was in DC a couple years ago, taking the metro, and waiting for my train. And on the other side of the platform, one of the new metro trains, which is what I was primarily working on for the past 3 years, pulls up. And this little boy right next to me just gets super excited about this new train. Now, there've only been like maybe 4 or 5 in service. He starts jumping up and down, getting so excited. Mommy, look at the new train. He wants to go the opposite direction just to take a ride on this new train. And it was kind of then I realized that value in what we do. I mean, we move cities. We move people. We spur the economy. And when I say we, I mean all of us involved in transit and transportation, from the chief engineer to the interns. Even the interns, I was an intern, and I wish I had more interns. You make our jobs so much more efficient. When DC decided to lay down streetcars down in the H Street corridor, now that's a highly political project. Some people say it hasn't really worked, but I can tell you this: when they put down those tracks on H Street in 2006, that area hit a huge revitalization. That area used to be run down, and it's now hopping with bars and clubs and shopping, and it has spurred the economy. And that's one of those things that we get to be part of. So what does LTK Engineering actually do? Well, we provide engineering services to transit agencies across the US. Our clients are just about every major transit agency in the US, and we offer services from detailed design review on trains, to troubleshooting trains, fare collection, electrification of the grid, and even like scheduling and trying to say what is the most efficient mode of transportation. About me, I graduated from Virginia Tech with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and have been working in this industry. I was with an LTK competitor up in Philadelphia for 7 years before moving to DC with LTK. And so, as emerging leaders in the transit industry, I want to pose to you a hypothetical situation. You're a manager, doesn't have to be in transit or whatever, but one of your employees is frequently late, always has, or not always, but tends to have an excuse for their tardiness, and always claims to be overworked. I want you all to discuss amongst yourselves what steps you would take as a manager to correct the situation. So discuss amongst yourselves for about 5-10 minutes, come up with a plan, with a consensus, and then we're going to discuss it. Yep. All right, let's just go around the room. If somebody from the women table could say what kind of steps you'd take.
Okay, so probably we would just try and talk about time management, because I think that would address both issues in one. So time management, obviously, if you're having problems being late, and if you feel overworked, maybe you're just not managing your time properly. And some people suggested that the way you phrase it is important. So maybe instead of saying it's a meeting, say it's like a one-on-one conversation, so they don't get nervous, and kind of have a calm tone so they're not defensive and you don't, startle them or anything like that.
Who wants to lead from here?
I think we said something similar where, you have to have a conversation with the guy and find out what's happening that's causing this sort of behavior. But then there's also the sense of, if he's not interacting with anybody that requires him to be there on time and he's getting his work done, like it's unprofessional, but is it that big an issue that it requires some sort of punishment, which might not be necessary? So I think it really depends on the circumstances of the situation. Yeah, I mean, if his tardiness is affecting his ability to perform, then of course some action needs to be taken. But otherwise, it's really contextual.
So we basically agree with the first two tables. We felt that this problem was more of a personable issue, so you have to discuss and see what's maybe going on, maybe in their personal life, because being overworked may constitute from their personal lives. So just talk to the person, assess the situation. It really depends on their value to the organization too, on which route you take on addressing the situation.
Hi. So we sort of came up with a 5-step plan. So first of all, we would talk with them and make sure that they know it's an issue, both the tardiness and the complaints. And then secondly, we would ask if there's anything that we can do to help. Maybe, like Ruci said, there's something personal going on, so we would offer any assistance that we can. And then we would sort of give them an option to come in every day for a week on time with no excuses, and then if they couldn't do that, we would suspend them for a month. And then in this meeting, we would also show them the contract that they signed when they first started working that listed all of the job duties. So we would just discuss that. Are they really overworked, we would ask. But yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think I got what I wanted in terms of segregating out the groups. Because you see, even though everyone had very similar approaches, what I wanted to kind of show here is that diversity is also more than just race. And that when you have men, women in a mixed approach, you get a more, I feel, collaborative effort that kind of addresses the root cause. I heard a lot of good answers there. One of the things is what is causing this tardiness? What can we do? Is the person actually overworked, or do they not have the adequate training or skill set to do the tasks at hand? One of the things that as you get up into management and leadership roles is you have to understand that management and leadership are actually different. You manage tasks, but you lead people. Management is, again, task-oriented. You have tasks, deadlines, estimates, schedules. As a manager, you are assigning tasks to people, but that also then requires that you have to have a high IQ to understand the entire process. Leadership, on the other hand, is trying to get behind the why. What makes people do what they do? Why do they do what they do? It requires a high motivational intelligence so that when you can get behind the why, you can motivate them to move towards the vision that has been established. So as a leader, you don't necessarily need to know everything. I'm not saying that cognitive intelligence isn't important. It absolutely is. But what's needed is a mix of both management and leadership when you are in these roles of managing people. So that being said, when you approach this idea of why people do what they do, it helps in the sense of being able to preemptively provide solutions to your clients. And so I guess that's my kind of home run point is, again, diversity is important in terms of race, gender, in the management room, but then also having high emotional intelligence to motivate your employees. You got any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Can we have another round of applause?
Obviously, being the conference while these stuff doesn't stop by, feel free to ask questions. Oh.
I have a question. How would you have solved that issue?
Good point. Actually, so this is actually something that I've been dealing with. So yeah, I did have an employee, and I felt really bad because she had a reputation in the office, in the sense, and she always kind of said something to the effect of like, oh, I'm late, I'm running late, I've got this, I'm in the parking lot. I'd always have like an email as to highlighting when she's not in the office. I don't know how to say this in the most politically right way, but she would always have these excuses, and I've been trying to figure out how to let her know that no one's buying her bullshit, essentially. Like, it made me realize like she has a reputation that she's not aware of. So I actually had a sit-down meeting with her where I kind of just tried to understand what was at the root cause. And she does have a medical issue, which she explained to me. And she was overworked because she didn't have the adequate tools or training. She's one of my analysts, and she is working with Excel. So she's got multiple Excel spreadsheets all over her screen and doing line-by-line analysis of this system when she really needs to be using Microsoft Access, an actual database software. And so one of the first things I told her is, one, these are the expectations that I asked her, when do you get into work on time? Or what is on time for you? And she says 9:30 to 5:30. I'm like, okay. So I wrote those numbers down, saying this is when you'll be in the office. I haven't addressed the issue of actually you're not meeting your own expectations at this point, because this meeting just happened maybe a week ago. But I have started taking the steps to teach her access. So I gave her a training program saying, watch these YouTube videos, get these deadlines done. And so far it's working. But the fact that I understand why she's late, why she's overworked, has started to I can already see that this is a positive track. Again, if the absences kind of continue, that's going to require another conversation.